Why am I doing this? I had to ask myself that question not too long ago. Despite making this channel for a number of reasons, I got to a point where I was struggling to find just one reason to continue making whatever it is I do on here. And even though at this point I have over 1,000 notes, hundreds of bullet points, and a bunch of ideas to put out, I've just struggled to simply sit down, do the work, and make it happen. So, as I took a trip to Jamaica recently and spent a few weeks, finding the answer to my question was one of the main objectives for me, a reset button, if you will. And while there, I also wanted to make an attempt at vlogging because, well, why not? So, with that being said, feel free to skip around. I'll be going through narrating to vlogging to reviewing and all that good stuff. So, here's how it went. Day one, or I guess it would be day 0 and 1. It was kind of rough. The day before my flight, I woke up at 4 or 5 a.m. knowing I had a long day ahead, just running around and gathering the last few ingredients for the trip. Something I've always thought of is traveling is fun, but everything before you actually get to the destination ain't really my favorite thing. The airport, the carrying stuff, the checkpoints, TSA, it is what it is, man. It's a lot. But what really grinds my gears is when they make you throw out the items just to have you buy them again while you get inside. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, but I digress. Anyway, the reason I mentioned this is because by the time I actually arrived to Jamaica, I had been awake for probably over 24 hours at that point, minus the little naps on the flight. Being up from 6 a.m. the prior day till the afternoon the next day, it really ain't ideal. But when I got there, I just felt different, like a little extra pep in my step. Maybe it was the 90-degree weather that hit me. So after clearing out baggage and all that other stuff, I finally got at the airport, and it was just like I remembered it over a decade ago when I came here. We had to grab the rental, which was another little story, but nothing too crazy. But honestly, that rental, I thought it was going to be a lot uglier from the pictures I saw, but instead, it was just a little bit ugly. And hey, ugly ain't always a bad thing, you know what I'm saying? But no, seriously, I liked it. And these kinds of vehicles or automobiles are pretty common over here too, just due to all the taxi services and just the tourism overall. But afterwards, we got to the hotel and the resort, got settled in, and went out to eat at this nice restaurant. I had some oxtails and some festival, as they call it, if you're familiar with Jamaican cuisine. And it was real good, but it might have been a little bit too much for my first meal. Now, afterwards, I just went and chilled by the pool. Nighttime came down pretty fast, so it was a pretty nice vibe since everybody was out for Friday. And then after that, we went out, took a drive, grabbed some snacks and all that good stuff, and then we just checked out for the night. So overall, it was a pretty smooth day. Can't complain too much. But we on to the next day. All right, y'all. Finally made it here in Jamaica, and it's been about 2 days coming. Man, I've only gotten about 2 hours of sleep in the past 2 days, and it's been rough. Had two flight layovers, or yeah, two flight layovers. Um, but we here. So we just here handling some family business. But something interesting. I thought traveling was cool. It is every now and then, I suppose, like domestically or when you're just, ooh, let me adjust this. It's pretty cool domestically, but international flights are tough, man. It's longer. You got to pack more stuff. It's rough. And the climate is different out here. It's way, way hotter. It's way, way hotter than anything I'm used to. It's like 90 degrees right now. Let me show y'all. Yeah, it's pretty hot. Oh shit, it ain't even showing up. I got a screenshot. I'll probably put it up on screen, but yeah, I still can't even hear that good. My ears ain't working. This is just me, I suppose, just rambling. I want to do a little bit of vlogging from now on. Maybe just once in a while, just to kind of do something a little bit more off the script, I suppose. And this is a good way to start. I was gonna do more talking at the airport, but it was just way too much going on. Way too much hustling and way too much rushing and all this other shit. But yeah, man, I'm tired. I'm tired. I don't even feel like talking right now. So I might go take a dip in the pool. I might go lay down. I'm definitely gonna take a shower because it's sticky out here. But yeah, I'll catch y'all later. Whew. All right, y'all. Day two in Jamaica, and not exactly sure what we're gonna be getting into today, but it's hotter than yesterday, I think. And I still enjoy just the feel of being here. Um, One thing I will say though is like if you got to walk around at any point, just don't take nothing for free from nobody because they gonna try to sell it to you afterwards, obviously. So they don't be lying when they say ain't nothing free in life because it damn sure ain't. But yeah, I'm probably gonna take another walk around town a little bit just to see what they got here, and I'm gonna show a little bit of it. Um, it's cool here though. Can't complain too much. But yeah, y'all. I'm about to pull aside again. It looks way different than at nighttime. Probably gonna come out here a little bit later. God, it's hot. I tell you, one thing I'll say about being here, I don't know if I talked about this before, being on the road is crazy. Like, you feel like you're about to get in an accident every 5 seconds. People drive crazy as hell. You kind of got to get with the times, if you know what I mean. Like, if you don't do it, then you're never going to be able to move. So it's like, my people like to put their foot on the pedal. That ain't going to work here. But yeah, man, I'll catch y'all later. So the next day, first thing I did in the morning was go outside and walk around. I figured I might as well get to see the area since, I don't come here that often. And I'll just say this. If you look like a tourist and they know you ain't from there, you'll probably get approached or talked to at least a million times up and down the street. So be prepared to be sold to, solicited, and steered into a shop. And then prices ain't no joke either, at least at the places near the resort I was at. I think since the shop owners know that a lot of the visitors are foreigners, they kind of price the things like randomly higher once the conversion happens. And again, if you don't live there, it's kind of hard to do the math in your head to determine if something doesn't make sense or if the price or the total don't make sense. But anywho, after my walk, we went to get breakfast and headed out to handle some business. And I got to visit family and such things later on that day, so nothing major. And I would say this is one of the slower days where nothing really happened. It was basically just a repeat of the first day near the end, where the poolside chilling was a great way to end the night. By day three, I really started to settle in. And you probably know the drill at this point, going for a walk, going to get breakfast. But on this day, we went to the beach, Doctor's Cave, if you ever heard of it. It was a real nice scenery, real nice views, and even though you have to pay to enter, and you can't enter with like outside chairs and all that stuff, it was still a great visit overall. Side note, but I'm surprised I haven't seen more beaches do this, right? Where like some business buys it up and then they privatize it and commoditize it, especially in this economic climate. Like everything seems to be charged for now. So just a thought. But as for the rest of the day, I ain't gonna bore you too much. It was more the same. And did I mention it was a business trip? Yeah, this was a lot of like boring stuff for the most part. But anyway, after day three, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of gave up trying to vlog at that point. I was there for almost 2 weeks afterwards. Plus, it just got a little bit too hectic to be trying to vlog. So I wrapped it up at my attempts at being on camera. Sometimes you just gotta go places and live anyway. But you know what? Since I'm here, I figured I might as well give a review and talk about the scene and give a little recap before diving into the reflection part. So first, let's talk about the driving. Now, I can't speak for the other cities, or they would call it parishes over there, because I was only in Montego Bay, but one of the first things I noticed is if you leave any amount of space between you and the vehicle in front of you, somebody is going to fly around and try to overtake you. And like you can't cruise at all. Like, damn, folks got some heavy ass feet over here. And then if you at a red light and it turns green and you don't move within a millisecond, you're going to have at least 5 cars honking at you just to get you to move. And it's funny because as someone who's driven on hectic roads my whole life between places like Milwaukee and Chicago and just these metro Midwest areas, I gotta say, they ain't got nothing on them drivers in Jamaica. But next thing to mention, maybe it's just me, but I swear it felt like the roads were built for the cars to be driven on the other side, not the left side, the right side. Again, like this was obviously just me because I'm used to driving on the right side of the street, but it was like anytime we went around a snake shaped or a serpentine road, especially ones that had that little blind bend, if you know what that's called, it felt like there was no way to look around the corner and see what was coming. So you'd often come around the blind corner with somebody rushing down the street, basically like right in the middle line. And, many times they were on the wrong side too, sometimes trying to overtake traffic. And you just had to hope that they were paying attention to what they were doing. I mean, defensive driving was basically completely off the table at that point over there. And driving at nighttime, oh man, don't even get me started on that. Especially the damn LED lights. Oh my God. Goodness gracious. Them things were OC. Again, they're bad in other places, but the dark roads mixed with the bright lights was an insane combination. But yeah, to wrap up driving, I don't even know if I would call it bad driving, but it's just a lot of aggressive runs on the road, and I'm just not used to it. So yeah, driving over there, would not recommend unless you know what you're doing. Next, let's talk about the food. I'm gonna be honest, the food was magnificent. Can't say enough. Everything tasted fresh and authentic like I know and remember. Aki and saltfish, oxtails, jerk chicken, kalaloo, festival, brown stew, anything, curry goat, curry chicken, all that good stuff. Everything was excellent. And my breakfast palate was a little bit more versatile between the French toast and the omelets, amongst other things. But yeah, and there was this one drink I ordered that was really good. I must have stopped and got it about 10 times while I was there. I think it was called a papaya drink. No, it was good every time. Can't say enough. But, and there's always a but, there was something I noticed at more than one place while I was there. And I just had to keep thinking, like, they should probably take some of these American dishes off the table or take these non-Jamaican dishes off because, man, they're just not what they should be. I like being able to chew my, like, steak or pork chops, for example. And I couldn't do that. So it was sure would have been nice if I could have chewed that food. Next, moving around. I covered driving earlier, but this was more about walking around the sights I saw and just the walks I was going on and just like the general feel of the streets. And overall, it was also pretty smooth, at least for where I was at. I'd say the architecture was different. That was something I wanted to highlight. And things were just built a little bit differently, which is to be expected due to that warmer climate. But overall, if I had to describe it, I would say there's a lot of greens, a lot of yellows, and blues. You know how there's certain places in the world that you go to and like it's a certain color that you can associate with it. Like some places are gray because they're concrete jungles, or sometimes places are bright and colorful with screens and lights everywhere. And some places have tall buildings and skylines, right? Some places are sandy and light brown. If you catch what I'm saying, certain places you can just close your eyes and imagine and picture what it looks like, even if it's just abstract. And those colors are the way I look at Jamaica. I might have mentioned it before, but I'm just way more accustomed to being in the city or being near a metro area. So it was just a whole different feel when I was there. Oh, and let me touch on the weather real quick because every time I woke up and stepped outside, it was 90 degrees. And it was the good 90, not the bad 90. The type where you can throw on some slides and some sandals and get going. And it wasn't too humid. And as someone who spends a lot of time in not so warm weather, it was just nice to experience that again. Even the air felt different as soon as I walked out the airport. So ultimately, if I remember nothing else, that was the one constant. So as I wrap up the review section, I gotta say, this was definitely a trip worth taking. Obviously, things are different when you're visiting a place versus residing there or living there, but I'm looking forward to the next time for sure. As for the trip back, I actually didn't get much footage of it because one, I didn't really feel like it, and two, because again, the hectic nature of things. The airport is the airport, and speaking of that, I had to throw out even more stuff on the way back. I mean, seriously, man, like they gotta get better with this. So now we're done with the review section. I wanted to get into the learning opportunity that I had there because I had the chance to go out to the deep country where there was no street lights, basically no internet access, unpaved roads, rocky roads, and it was more common to see more animals and buildings than people. And honestly, deepened my perspective on socialization and how I could actually tie it into the way I create things in general. Living in a place where basically you have internet and social media and all these connected opinions being thrown at you 24/7, to go from that to something completely different was so fascinating to me. And just looking back already, it almost feels like a dream to me, like I never even went at all. I think the experience empowered me to be more locked in mentally. It showed me an alternative, something more simple and more focused in a sense. One thing about the internet, and I've spoken about this before, but due to the fast-paced information, the constant feedback, the algorithms, everything, it can just kind of mold you into a certain kind of person, even if you don't realize it. Some more than others, I suppose, and it can trick one into thinking people's opinions actually matter on an individual basis within your own life when it really doesn't. So, one of the reasons I created this channel was so I could talk about life through the lens of how I've experienced and lived it, and to simply be willing to say something today, yesterday, years prior, or tomorrow, and be willing to stand on it in the grand scheme of things, where the goal isn't necessarily to be right or wrong, but just be able to think something at one point in life and be able to explain why I see it that way to myself and anybody willing to listen. So being out in that environment really reminded me that if I'm wrong or my perspective shifts, then it'll be done in real life, not through an algorithm, and definitely not online. So to sum everything up, I'm gonna continue creating as much as I can for the most part, at least for as long as it makes sense, and just trying to use it as a tool for personal growth, even if the numbers don't necessarily reflect that. But I would encourage you also to find an unfamiliar environment just to test how you think out there versus your current state. Sometimes that shock is necessary. Bottom line is, this is definitely why I needed to reset. Sometimes burnout doesn't happen from a ton of work. It can just happen from a lack of progression or not seeing results that you wish after a while. But that's just how it goes though, right? But anyway, appreciate you if you made it this far. This is me signing out.